Death has been around since forever. It is part of our culture, literature, history, arts, religion. Every aspect of our lives is somehow connected with that. Between the age of 5 and 7, all children come to understand the universality of death. Every family member will die. Every pet, every plant, everything they love. Nothing is infinite. Everything has its beginning and its end. That's how we perceive life since the beginning of time. Although life seems to go forever when we are young, and growing old may seem a distant event, but every one of us will experience the end of life at some moment. As Dr. David Sinclair wrote in his book Lifespan, after we draw our last breath, our cells will scream for oxygen, toxins will accumulate, chemical energy will be exhausted, and cellular structures will disintegrate. A few minutes later, all of the education, wisdom, and memories that we cherished and all of our future potential will be irreversibly erased. This is actually one of the biggest tragedies, the mortality and the finiteness of life. From the very beginning of humankind, life itself has developed mechanisms for survival, not by being immortal itself, but in the form of biological reproduction. Now, Mr. De Grey, whose quote you saw in the beginning, says that aging will be conquered within the next 20 years. And humans could be living up to 1,000 years of age. Sure, there is a lot of breakthrough discoveries about aging in recent years, which I'm going to go over in a minute, but there is so many factors to put into the equation. Only looking back at events such as COVID-19 pandemic, which for a couple of years literally stopped almost every process around the world, sets it clear that it might take way longer than 20 years to master the aging process and put a treatment out on the market. Or maybe I'm wrong, and immortality is on our doorstep already. I choose to believe that we certainly might be not far away from discovering the pill for immortality. The important question now though is, who doesn't want to live longer and healthier? We live once, don't we? Why not stick around for a bit longer, or maybe even for as long as we want? Who doesn't want to not think about the limited time we have to study, make a family, create a business, enjoy life? For me, the answer of these questions is obvious. Well, this opens up a whole new world of ethical and social questions, but I'm not going to be touching on this matter now. What I want to focus on in this video are the possibilities that science gives us in regards to understanding the process of aging, biological immortality, and what technologies we already have in regards of extending life expectancy. Now, for the past century and a half, we see an enormous increase in the number of people living to the age of 100 and above. These are the so-called centenarians. There are about 20 times more centenarians nowadays than just 50 years ago. Yes, it is also due to the fact that there is way more people on the planet right now, but the rate per capita is also the highest than ever before. Japan is on the first place with 6 centenarians for every 10,000 people, or 0.06%. According to the United Nations reports, the number of centenarians as well as the percentage per capita is increasing faster, expected by 2050 to increase 8-fold. See, this is product of few factors: environment, diet, medicine, and proper physical care. Increase in life expectancy came as more of us gained access to safe food sources, clean water, and advanced healthcare. Death during infancy and childbirth fell drastically during the last couple of centuries due to improvements in medical care, and therefore life expectancy rises ever since. This is the simple math of human mortality. According to studies, best places around the planet climate-wise and diet-wise, the so-called blue zones, are some of the island regions of Italy, Spain, and France, which are enjoying the privilege of having the highest percentage of centenarians in Europe, and Japan having the highest in the world. This is due to the fact that people in those regions tend to eat more plant-based, non-processed, and fresh foods, which they mostly produce themselves. They tend to be more active, but not overly active, as well as having the culture of respecting the older generations, where old people tend to live with their children and even grandchildren. In Japan we see something similar, rich in fresh, uncooked and mostly plant-based diets, where people pay respect to older generations. For example, the life expectancy at birth for women in Japan and Italy now is about 87.7 and 84.7 years respectively. Simply put, to add those 10-15 years to your life, you just need to change a few things in your daily routine and lead a generally healthy lifestyle. As we said, first, having decent active daily life, second is good diet, and third, worry less and connect better with other people. Throw in a good night's sleep in there as well. Okay, this far we saw how we can optimize our daily lives if we want to strive for extending our life and health span. But adding 10-15 years to our lives does not bring us any close to the idea of immortality. That's where the technological advancements and the big old companies come into the equation. Science and medicine are actually on the brink of a revolution in treating the body and understanding aging and the major causes for biological mortality right now, which only within the next couple of decades can bring us to a new era in treating aging. Now, of course, there's the idea of downloading your brain into a computer machine. It's an idea talked a lot about recently, but it doesn't seem really feasible for now because it brings many complex questions and problems. Extending the lifespan in our current bodies looks way more achievable. The closest to body and machine symbiosis we can get in near future is perhaps some kind of a nanotechnology in our bodies and replacement of organs and limbs. Something like Elon Musk's Neuralink might do. But aside of the computer-biological body symbiosis, something that is already happening is the interesting approach of one company located in Arizona, the US. This is Alcor, a life extension foundation, a company that specializes in cryonics. After a quick look on their website, we see that for an affordable price per month plus insurance, this company will have a whole medical team on standby, which after you're pronounced dead, will rush you and put you into one of their cryo chambers kept at minus 196 degrees Celsius. That's where you're gonna wait until hopefully one day technology is advanced enough to be able to unfreeze and revive you. Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? There are already 200 of the so-called cryonauts. But while Alcor is more like a last resort type of option, there are some other pioneers out there right now making unbelievable progress in the field of anti-aging.
Whenever you meet a fundamental human need, there's a market. And in this case, the market for age-related disease and aging is a $1 trillion market.
You might have seen around that Jeff Bezos is vehemently funding longevity projects. Earlier this year, he powered an astonishing investment of $3 billion into a biotech startup company called Autos Labs, which goal is cellular rejuvenation programming to restore cell health and resilience, with the goal of reversing disease to transform medicine. There's more. Google founders Sergey Brin and Larry Page helped launch Calico, a company focused on the genetic basis of aging, a secretive venture that's tracking mice from birth to death in the hope of finding markers for disease like diabetes and Alzheimer's. Calico is part of Alphabet, the holding company that owns Google. Bill Maris is the founder and first CEO of Google Ventures. He is the creator of Google's Calico project, which launched in September 2013.
Why does Google really care about extending life and aging?
I think Google is interested in some of the very large societal problems that we can help make the world better, and aging is one of those problems that society is going to be facing more and more over the coming years. The number of people over the age of 65 in a couple of years will exceed the number of people under the age of 5, and the care for people as they get older and as they get sick, the costs are just mounting both to themselves, to their families, and to society. So how can we allow people to live healthier?
If rich people and big tech companies started investing billions in this industry of extending human life in the past decade or so, this means only one thing. The potential future of such technologies is enormous, and there are solid improvements in this area already here. Improvements that in the last few years are rendered the best, to my opinion, by one optimistic scientist that stands out from the crowd. Dr. David Sinclair, a co-director of the Paul F. Glenn Center for Biology of Aging Research at Harvard Medical School. He is known for his research on aging with a focus on epigenetics. Dr. Sinclair talks about extending the so-called health span, or the time we live without any major diseases and feel comfortable living. One of his go-to mottos is that we need to stress our bodies for short periods of time now and then to help it regenerate cells, age, and thus live longer and healthier. In his book, Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to, he wrote the following, quote, "In this way of thinking, cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and other conditions we commonly associate with getting old are not necessarily diseases themselves, but symptoms of something greater. Or, put more simply, aging itself is a disease, the most common disease, one that not only can, but should be aggressively treated. Aging is simply a loss of information. Dr. Sinclair, his team, and other scientists have determined that aging itself and the diseases that come with it are the result of multiple hallmarks of aging. Those are genomic instability caused by DNA damage, attribution of the protective chromosomal end caps, the so-called telomeres, alterations to the epigenome that control which genes are turned on and off, loss of healthy protein maintenance, metabolic changes, mitochondrial dysfunction, accumulation of senescent zombie-like cells that inflame healthy cells, exhaustion of stem cells. Researchers began to cautiously agree, address these hallmarks and you can slow down aging and you can forestall disease and you can push back death. And if this sounds a bit complicated to you, don't worry. The only thing you need to understand from that is that scientists already know exactly what causes biological aging and death. It means they only need to find the proper ingredients which can forestall those processes when needed, so we can slow down aging or don't age at all. Take stem cells, which have the potential to develop into many other kinds of cells. If we can keep these undifferentiated cells from tiring out, they can continue to generate all the different cells necessary to heal damaged tissue and battle all kinds of diseases. Meanwhile, the medical procedures are